The Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra has been out for 4 months now, releasing January 31st of this year, and while it's been an absolute treat, there are some minor concerns that I've had with this phone, but is it enough to make me reconsider switching to it? If you're new here, I've been teetering back and forth between iPhone and Android, trying to find the perfect phone for me, sharing my experiences along the way. And out of the handful of devices that I've tested in the last couple years, the S24 Ultra seems to be the best contender. There's a lot that this phone does really right. The large 6.8-inch display with a 2600 nit peak brightness allows for easy viewing when outdoors, and combined with the anti-glare coating really makes it unlike any other phone that I've used in those bright sunny days. The chip inside this phone, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, has been genuinely a powerhouse. Not only great for when it comes to performance in mobile games, but in day-to-day tasks with quick load times and rarely ever a hitch. Not to mention that the 8 Gen 3's 4nm process combined with the S24 Ultra's cooling solution allows this phone to run much more cooler than I'm used to, no longer making me fear any overheating warnings. However, there are some community known issues, like the grainy display when viewing a gray or dark background, but this isn't something that I've noticed personally, and I will say that as OLED tech continues to progress, the reality is that things like this are going to be more common and pop up in other devices. We're already seeing this issue in the new M4 iPad Pro. But from the cameras, the display, and the overall package of the S24 Ultra, I've been really enjoying this device. And I want to talk about how it's held up over the last 4 months. Before we go any further though, a like and a sub to the channel is always appreciated. Doing those things really does help boost the algorithm and get my videos out there more, so if you're a fan of the content, it would honestly mean the world. I really appreciate you guys for being a part of this community, and I've been absolutely loving doing this, so thank you so much. I'm gonna separate this into a couple of categories: the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll start from the good, and then as we get deeper into the video, we'll talk about some more concerning things with the S24 Ultra, but as for right now, let's just get right into it. So I don't think that there's any doubt that this is my favorite phone at the moment, and all it takes is one scroll through my channel to see how much I've praised this thing, especially talking about all of its really good features. But after spending some more time with it, there's a couple of things that I found myself really liking. With the S24 Ultra, there was quite a shock when Samsung decided to drop the 10x telephoto lens, only to replace it with a 5x telephoto. As you can tell, it upset some people because less range equals more bad. But that's not really the case. The new 50 megapixel periscopic telephoto camera on the S24 Ultra has a 111mm equivalent lens, and while that does fall much shorter than the 230mm equivalent on the S23 Ultra, the 5x telephoto is far more usable in a lot more conditions now. Whether it's portraits, architecture, car photography, street photography, I find that I can get away with a whole lot more using the 5x telephoto on the S24 Ultra than I ever could on the S23 Ultra's 10x telephoto. It's also important to mention that the S23 Ultra's 10x telephoto houses a 10 megapixel sensor, whereas the 5x telephoto is a 50 megapixel, meaning that theoretically you could crop into an equivalent focal length and still retain a lot more detailed image at 25 megapixels. I think that the anger felt from the removal of the 10x telephoto was extremely overstated. And after spending the last 120 days with the Galaxy S24 Ultra, I honestly am really happy that Samsung went this route. Typically, I wouldn't call the design of a phone a feature, but when it comes to the S24 Ultra, this is something that I actually really do enjoy about using it. Thanks to the new titanium outer frame and a matte coating along with just 2 rectangular slabs of glass, this phone looks substantial or industrial in a way, but it does feel really good in the hand. My biggest pet peeve of the S22 and S23 Ultra was the curved glass on the front, and if I'm nitpicking, the lack of symmetrical bezels. But with the S24 Ultra fixing these, looking at it head on makes this thing feel and look really polished. And thanks to the fact that it's more rectangular, rather than having rounded edges for the display, what you see is what you get, unlike the iPhone where there's UI elements and apps that need to accommodate for the lack of screen real estate. Essentially, you're holding a brick, but in a really good way. I've never really found this phone to be uncomfortable. The bottom gives a nice ledge for my pinky to rest, and as far as the sharp edges go, my hand is almost completely ignoring them. And I will say that if you're like most people, smart, and you end up throwing a case on this thing, I wouldn't really worry about how sharp this phone is, because in the hand it feels really good with every case that I've tried. But I like the way the S24 Ultra looks. I think that the exposed camera housing looks really nice, finally giving the S line some brand identity, and I'm also a fan of how Samsung isn't afraid to play around with weird colors, giving us a purple phone. By the way, the durability of the S24 Ultra has improved significantly over something like the S22 and S23 Ultra. No longer do you get these really weird oil stains on the side thanks to it being more of a matte finish, but also with the glass itself actually handling scratches pretty damn well. Let me see if I can give you a better look of this. This is my screen after about 3 months of not using a screen protector, and it looks pretty damn clean. I don't see a single micro scratch. And the reason why this is impressive is because the S22 and S23 Ultra at this point in time would have looked like a piece of sandpaper. That's not an exaggeration. I really do like screen protectors. I'm a big fan of what they do for your phone and how they protect it, but I will say that using a screen protector on this takes away the biggest feature that I really like, and that is the anti-glare coating. So I'm just glad to see that Samsung, with their new Gorilla Glass, has actually made pretty much a reasonable statement in saying that it's way stronger. I thought that this was just going to be kind of like a marketing gimmick in the beginning, but after actually having hands-on with and using this for an extended period of time, I'm kind of blown away that I don't have a single micro scratch on this device. There really isn't a whole lot to dislike about the S24 Ultra. It pretty much is best in class, and I don't mean that lightly, but there are a couple of things that I would like to see changed or revised in the future to help give Samsung a little more edge on the competition. The S24 Ultra is an expensive phone, but it doesn't matter who you are or how deep your pockets are, that's just the way that it is. Currently, 4 months after its launch, it's still $17.99 Canadian at Best Buy for the 256GB variant, jumping up to $1,959 for the 512GB model that I have here. Granted, Samsung does offer a ton of promos all the time, whether it's pre-order or trade-in bonuses. I've never once found myself paying full price for one of their devices. But for the average consumer or someone who may not be as aware of these types of deals, the price tag alone is enough to make some reconsider, especially when Apple's 15 Pro Max is $50 less. In Canada and the United States, most people are willing to pay more for Apple products like the iPhone versus choosing something like Samsung. And I think that if Samsung really wants to grab a hold of a new audience, having the most expensive slab phone on the market really isn't the way to do it. Sometimes I actually catch myself wondering why I choose to use this device over something like the OnePlus Open when I really do like foldables, especially considering that the OnePlus Open in Canada goes on sale a lot at retailers like Best Buy. Like right now, I can buy the OnePlus Open at Best Buy for $19.99 for the 512GB version, which is the exact same price or nearly the same price as the S24 Ultra, and you can argue that you're getting a lot more for the value there. Okay, and just hear me out on this one. I've said this in the past, but not a single one of my friends, my wife, or my side of the family uses an Android device. Now, it's not that big of a deal until when it is. See, I try for the most part to get people to WhatsApp me rather than send me an SMS, especially when it comes to things like planning trips or vacations. However, unless I'm the one that's actually creating the group and choose to use WhatsApp as that platform, I'm the one that's pretty much getting the short end of the stick. Everything like pictures and videos that are sent to me from an iPhone are going to be a much lower quality because they're sending as MMS or SMS. Not only that, but if you're in a group chat, sending SMS actually makes a lot of the messages appear out of order, and sometimes you could just straight up not get any of the text. So yeah, I have an Android phone, everyone else has an iPhone. It kind of kills the group chat experience. Thankfully, most people that I know do have WhatsApp, but a lot of them do refuse to use it for anything other than work, and that's something that's kind of hard to get around. If I have some photos or videos that I want to send to people, for the most part, I'm scrambling between WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger to try to get them to my friends and family, and it is really annoying. Obviously, there's two sides to the story. A, Apple could adopt RCS and just call it a day, and honestly, I think that's probably the best option, or B, I could just buy an iPhone and choose to carry that instead. And while A would be nice, the most realistic option would be just to get an iPhone. But I have many reasons for not wanting to do so, and the S24 Ultra is such a great phone that makes the iPhone not appealing to me at all. And honestly, I just wish this wasn't a problem. I'm just gonna jump right into this one. The S24 Ultra's battery at launch was absolutely insane. I was able to top up my phone in the car for about 20 to 40 minutes out of the day and not have to charge until I got in the car the next day. I never found myself needing to charge this phone at home, and the only time that I did was when I was filming a day in the life video and needed to start the day at 100%. This was good for me because I'm pretty much allergic to responsibility, and charging my phone every night seems to be my kryptonite. I don't know why. But the battery life has gotten bad, and I thought this was just me. You know, like I've broken the phone in, used more apps, have been on a little bit more data since it's been nicer outside, but it's been really bad. And what I didn't know was how many people were having the same issue until I spent more time on Twitter and saw that pretty much everybody I know has been complaining about it as well. Now, I'm hoping that this is something that can be fixed over a software update, but there have been mornings where I've been almost dead around 12 to 1 in the afternoon, and it just doesn't instill the most confidence in the S24 Ultra long term. Things like this are why I make long-term update videos, because the beginning of the phone's life doesn't necessarily tell the whole story. The first day or week review may be extremely positive, but as time goes on, it can really dwindle. And I think in the case of the S24 Ultra, there's only a couple of things that have been wrong with it. Realistically, it's because of my friend group and who I surround myself with, and the battery life, which aren't necessarily problems with the phone and could just be more so software related. And obviously, I just need to pick better friends. I'm just kidding. But I mean, it does suck not being able to use iMessage when literally everyone you know does it. Aside from this and small software gripes that make communication harder with iPhones, in the last 2 years, the S24 Ultra has stayed in my pocket longer than any other device, and that's not an exaggeration. I've had no need or want to replace the S24 Ultra, and while I'm excited to try out devices like the Pixel 9 or Z Fold 6, I highly doubt that either of those devices are going to remove me from this phone. Anyways, that's been it. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this video and the S24 Ultra. And if you've watched it all the way through, drop the battery emoji in the comments so I know who the real ones are. That's been it. Thank you all for watching. Leave a like and a sub, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.